Friday is here, and the Print Factory is live with the full crew. We got ODB, we got Big T, we got some slamming going on in the background, whatever that was, but we're ready to roll with some football winners here. I'm going MMA, football, NBA. I'm going 3 for 3 on sports today, boys. We're going to fully loaded. Just recorded the MMA show with my guy Dan. If you guys are interested in MMA for the big card, check that show out after this. On this YouTube channel. And then we got hoops up to lock later. If you're a member, RPS 15% off your first monthly or weekly payment. Get over there, check us out. ODB, I'll throw it to you first here, brother. How was your football week?
Week was good. I think the night games last week, actually just the Niners really got me, but yeah, came in strong last night. Rams. I don't know if, this theory that I had weeks and weeks ago is gaining a lot of steam. Fade the team that played the Lions the week before. I remember talking about it on the show. I'm sorry, my computer's messing up. People in chat were like, that's a hokey theory, but sure enough, now it's gaining mainstream popularity. But played the Rams last week. Yesterday, Vikings off a loss to the Lions. So, yeah, that one continues to be strong for me. And interesting week. A lot of good teams versus bad teams. So, excited to see if we can find some good things to parse out here.
Yeah, should be a fun week. We'll get to the winners in a second here. Tony, coming right from a meeting. Look at this, right on time for the boys, for the crew. I was getting worried for a second that you weren't going to make it on time.
For the record, I was ready to go at 2:57 for the time record.
You were late
because you said 3:15 in the other text to me.
Well, yeah, because you were in a meeting and I was getting off an MMA show. Well, you didn't tell me that. I would have literally been ready at
3:15. Don't be trying to get me in trouble with the chat. I was ready to go. I texted.
No, I'm not trying to get you.
What time did I text you?
You told me 3. I was here at 3.
Yeah.
I texted Big T. I said just got off.
You know what?
I'm not gonna say what time I sent that text at though. I'm not gonna out you.
3:15 in the text.
I'm not going to out you, though, with what time I said that at. Go look at your phone. What does that matter
what time you said it at? You said 3:15.
Because you said I said it after or before 3.
No, I didn't say it. Well, you did say it at 3:02.
Yeah, that's all right, though. Because I was coming
up. I still don't know how that was me.
Because I was in here and no one was here. So I was like, oh, Big T must still be in the meeting. So I was just like, I'll just move it to 3:15. And ODB must have came like right after I moved it because he was there like probably a couple minutes later. So whatever. Doesn't matter. We're good. We're on time.
Let's get on to some
winners. No, they do care because people were on Twitter saying I'm always late. They were betting 5 subscriptions that I'll be late.
Yes.
People do care. It's very important.
It's very important to me because I'm not paying for 5 subscriptions for Tony being late. So that's the thing. If I'll pay for 5 subscriptions on my own, but not for Tony being late.
I have been late plenty of times. Today was not one of those times.
Yeah, no. Today was not one.
I've been working on a baseball sheet for the last 15 minutes.
All right, there we go. One
thing I do know about Tony is if he's late, he's probably working. It's not because he's taking the dog for a walk.
Yeah, if he's late, he's either napping or taking care of his kids. That's what's happening.
That's another lie. You say I'm not late because I do take naps, but I never sleep through stuff.
I was up this morning at like 3:00 my time, which is like 6:00 your time, and I couldn't sleep. And I'm scrolling Twitter, and I see Big T sending out a tweet. It had to be like 4:30 in the morning his time, and I'm like, this guy literally never sleeps.
I haven't been sleeping lately good at all.
He's tweeting at 3:00 Eastern a.m. He's tweeting at 6 a.m. Eastern. He just tweets nonstop.
I have not been sleeping good, for the record.
There was one morning, ODB, he texted me at like 6:15 or 6:30, and he's like, just finished the sheet. I'm going back to bed till our show at 10 a.m. I'll see you then. And I was like, okay. Okay.
Good. I'm glad he gets some sleep. The guy's gonna kill himself. He works so damn hard.
He's not sleeping good. That's what happens when you got 3 kids, you got a dog. That's what happens, ODB. It's just, it happens.
I understand.
So, yep. All right, let's get to the football talk. Enough of this bullshit here. Luckily this week, we don't have a London game. Thank you. Good Lord. We do not have a London game here because I was sick of having to sweat those while on the Wood Show. But 1 p.m. games to start. We'll roll right through. We do the main slate on this show, talking betting and some DFS. We'll start here with the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns here. It's an 8-point spread in Cleveland here. Now, obviously, I want to get you guys' takes a little bit on Deshaun Watson. I know there was a lot of things about him getting booed when he got hurt and all this type of stuff. The players obviously came to the defense of Deshaun Watson. And I saw a bunch of people crying, just pretty much telling people to go fuck yourself on Twitter because the guy's a piece of shit. And I get it. The guy is a piece of shit. But when a man or a woman is down, you don't just kick them when they're down, like completely down. Like, I think that's just wrong for people. And I think it's wrong for people to pump up. So I didn't really like when he had a clear, serious injury and people were just shitting on him then too. Like, he's already feeling as shitty as probably possible. Like, you don't need to make it any worse. So that's just my take on it. I thought it was kind of bullshit that I get he's a terrible person and whatever, but you don't do it at that time. That's my whole point by it. But what do you guys think of the new starter, Jameis Winston, right, against Lamar Jackson here? ODB, I'll start with you.
I will say nobody's gonna know these people, but if you're old and you've been a football fan forever, like I have, you will. But one of my biggest memories as a kid, I used to go to Saints games all the time. I lived in New Orleans in junior high and high school. My dad took me. We went to Saints games all the time. And I can remember sitting in the stadium, and I'm pretty sure it was Wade Wilson was our quarterback, and he wasn't doing very well, and he got hurt, and John Fourcade was the backup, and he was like a Cajun guy. And there had been talk radio had been wanting this guy to play for weeks and weeks, and Wade Wilson got hurt, and everybody around me was cheering. And I can literally remember screaming at these adults as a kid, "You don't boo the guy, he's down." And it just was like this lasting memory of me that you don't cheer when somebody gets hurt on the field. So anyway, that's just a memory that I have, that every time I see somebody get cheered when they go down, that it always kind of just brings me back to that childhood memory. That being said, I mean, Deshaun has been a terrible quarterback. So just looking at it at a pure football side of it, he's been terrible. I think the team really doesn't want to play for him. I mean, I'm kind of torn here because, I'm like, well, it can't be much worse. Maybe the team gets motivated because, I don't think a lot of them probably liked him. But I think Jameis probably sucks. I mean, there's a reason that New Orleans never played him when everybody wanted him to, when they would play Taysom. He couldn't get a job. He went there. He was basically a third-string quarterback. Everybody wants to remember this Jameis from the Tampa Bay years that he was throwing the ball up to these amazing receivers, and that's a long, long time ago. And I kind of think his shtick is kind of old. So I'm not jumping on the Jameis bandwagon. From a DFS standpoint, I mean, he's probably cheap and he's probably going to get you something. So whatever. I mean, if you're the play cheap quarterback guy, he's probably fine. But just from a game standpoint, the Baltimore Ravens are really freaking good, and Lamar is really good. I know this show doesn't usually love Lamar, but it's time to give this guy the props. I mean, the ball he's throwing looks really good these days. He's got complete control of this offense. Derrick Henry's a wagon. So yeah, I think that I don't really want to play the Browns here, but it is a sleepy spot. So, and it is a division opponent, so I don't love it, but I'm not all in on this Browns team like I'm hearing a lot of people.
So if chat was wondering, or Tony, I don't know if Tony was wondering either, Wade Wilson was drafted in the 1981 NFL draft. He played he played for a bunch of different teams. Obviously, the Saints were one of the teams. I think he was drafted by the Vikings. So for someone who was asking, was it in the 1970s? You were close, but no cigars, 1980s, but you were close. I was actually wondering it myself because when you said Wade Wilson, I was like, "Who the hell is Wade Wilson?" I had to go.
He was a good quarterback for a while.
Yeah, no,
he was around for a long time.
He played for a while. He played for a few.
Just shows our generation gap that you didn't even know who Wade Wilson was.
I didn't. No, I had to go.
You definitely don't know John Forcade. That's for sure.
Nope. No, I do not. So I'll look him up now. Tony, do you know who either of those guys were?
I knew who Wade Wilson was. Definitely not Forte or whatever he said.
Forcade.
I definitely didn't know the second one. I've seen Wade Wilson. Well, not seen him, but I've seen and heard of Wade Wilson though.
All right, we'll talk about Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with ODB's take on everything. I mean, I always thought Winston was kind of a gunslinger, decent quarterback, but he's got to be bad. I mean, let's face it. He's gone around the grapevine, around the league a bunch. I mean, he's got to be bad. And this team just doesn't have anything. I mean, they got rid of Coop. They were bad before they started losing guys, and I just don't see it. I mean, I'm not a huge Baltimore guy, even though they're still really good. This is just a clear-cut teaser spot for me. I know I say this every week on the show, but -8 right now on DraftKings. You tease it down to 2. I know it's a division game on the road, which should be maybe scary, but they don't have anybody, and Baltimore's kind of a wagon right now. So I don't know. It's very clear-cut for me. I don't think it's a great fantasy spot, though, even though it's Baltimore. Like in my flow chart, Baltimore just breaks all the scales. Lamar breaks the scales. Henry breaks the scales. They just crush, and they crush together. I don't like this spot for them, though, either. This is just a Baltimore teaser. No fantasy for me, though.
Yeah. So Jameis Winston, when he was a gunslinger with Tampa Bay, was still not the greatest quarterback. He was throwing a bunch of interceptions and stuff. But the one good thing about Jameis Winston for fantasy is he's gonna throw the ball. Like he's not gonna be afraid to throw it, which is the good thing. Like we saw for years him, like Jay Cutler types, where they'd have multiple interceptions, but they could still, score fantasy points and get touchdowns and stuff like that. So it's not like he can't score fantasy points. And also, I mean, before those injuries to but Mike Evans, like Tampa Bay was just running it right down the field on them. It's not like Cleveland couldn't score something against this Baltimore defense. The defense isn't bad, but I don't think it's the normal defense that we're used to seeing from the Baltimore Ravens the last few years. For sure, it's not really bad, but it's definitely not like a supreme
more
top
on
defense.
The bad side than the how it's been side, though. I agree that I don't think it's fully that way, but I think it's closer to the bad side than the dominant side.
That's what I'm trying to say.
We're going to be looking at Chalk Njoku, Chalk Cedric Tillman. I mean, come on, man. These guys.
Hey, shout out Cedric Tillman.
Shout out JSU with the Tillman call. Let's give JSU a hand.
You got Tillman.
Yep. Yeah, 0.5% owned. Yeah, that was, and people played Elijah Moore over him, and I'm like, you guys watched Elijah Moore play?
Pivots, I'll talk you up about that, because those are the pivots that I think people always mess up. Like, everyone wanted to play Elijah Moore, which I get, but if Elijah Moore is going to be somewhat chalky in the same exact play as Cedric Tillman, and you can get him for 0%, that's just basic DFS right there. Like, and that was a really good call. Those are the calls that can win you a tournament. Like, those are the calls that really separate you.
God, if only I could have gotten the Indianapolis Colts running back correctly, it would have won me a tournament for sure. I just needed that one fix. Goodson instead of Sermon was the difference in me shipping the 3 max. But JSU, cut the crap and light up a joint. I haven't lit up a joint in 14 years. And listen, like
I haven't lit up a joint in 12 hours.
12 hours.
I'm less than 12 hours probably.
I'm less than 12 hours. He said, "Listen, like I'm 34. Leave me alone, okay? Leave me be." We
I
are
really
different
wouldn't get
generations.
sleep if I didn't light a joint up in 14 years. I would never sleep.
Nope. Going strong. 14 years plus. All right, moving on. Tennessee and Detroit here. 11.5-point favorite here. Detroit is at home against the Tennessee Titans here. Are we just slamming this? ODB, I know you love Detroit, so I'll just throw it to you here. Are you slamming this Detroit team, or are you just taking the points with Tennessee?
And I've had a good feel for Detroit all year. I just like this team. It is kind of another sleepy spot. They're coming off of Minnesota. They've got Green Bay next week. This is a perfect sandwich game. I don't think they really have to show a lot. That being said, it's Dan Campbell. I don't know if he ever takes weeks off, but I don't know. This is not just a slamming it and love it spot, just because it's just sandwiched so in between these two division rivals. Jamison Williams out for this team. I think this might be a good spot maybe to try to get Laporta off. I keep waiting for the Laporta game. Montgomery a little banged up, so I don't know, maybe Gibbs. I don't really know what to do. I just know that Detroit's a good team. I don't really want to fade them, but I really don't want to lay the wood this week. I could see this game just kind of somehow being closer. I don't know how though. Tennessee is really bad. And they gave up. They traded multiple players. I guess Detroit can just roll the football out and probably just win this game by whatever they want. But we know that's kind of not how the NFL works. And sometimes these shitty teams, when the other teams just take it off, I don't know. I really don't have a strong take. I could really make a case either way on this one. From a fantasy perspective, it's in the dome. You got Detroit, who likes to score points. You have Tennessee, who's, I don't know. They don't have a lot offensively. So, Pollard gets a lot of these dump offs. I think Spears might be back, so that might cut into his work. I don't know. Ridley still sucks. Maybe one of these other cheap guys you could put in there. I don't know. I don't even really know what to do with this game. So I'll just deflect it over to somebody who has a better take. My only thought is that Laporta has gotten so cheap now that I'm willing to gamble on on him having a breakout game. Like I said last week when I said play Amon-Ra, on these teams that have all these weapons, they have to try to get all of them off at some point, and Laporta is the only one who really hasn't gotten off. So maybe this is a let's get Laporta off game.
Yeah, maybe it would be nice to see him do something here. Best fantasy tight end we thought we were going to see coming into this year, and hasn't shown much for sure up to this point. But Big T, you got a strong take on this Tennessee Detroit game?
It's kind of the week you guys talked about. I don't remember if it was you or ODB starting out that this week's got some ugly ones. And these are the games that anybody that's followed me over the years, these are the games I struggle with the most because I just can't take Tennessee. I don't really want to just lay points with Detroit like this many. I don't know. Like they're coming off some big games. They can't be that excited, but they might just be way too physically dominant and just own them. So I just hate these spots bet-wise. I hardly ever bet them either way. Like I just can't. I just don't see a reason to do it. And then fantasy-wise, I like some of these guys, but I just don't love the spot. I never want to play teams when they don't have to score for 4 quarters, at least in the NFL. And then you got guys like Pollard, never going to excite me. We've talked about playing 4K quarterbacks at times. I'm not playing Mason freaking Rudolph. I don't see anything. We got a lot of games. I'll save time. I don't like anything.
Yeah, maybe you could find a cheap receiver, 3K receiver here. Nick Westbrook-Akine's caught touchdowns in the last 2 games, and he's 3K, and there's no DeAndre Hopkins now. So He ran like 21 routes or something like that last week, and that was with D-Hop. So maybe he gets even more work with him out. There's no Treylon Burks there, so they're kind of thin at receiver, Tennessee. So maybe I can take a shot with like one of these Tennessee cheap guys. Khalif Raymond, obviously, with no Jameson Williams. I see the question in chat asking me if I like Tillman or Khalif Raymond more. Even with JMO out, I don't think like Khalif Raymond gets like a huge bump. Dan Campbell was quoted before the season kind of talking about Khalif Raymond and how like he's not really an every down type receiver, and he's more like, a guy that he's not going to play like the full game because he does other things like punt returns and other stuff that, he just wants to keep him as healthy as possible. So he's not trying to run him into the ground specifically. So like, I don't know how much he gets a bump with JMO out, or do guys like Allen Robinson, Tim Patrick, see more, and Khalif Raymond's just in on specific downs and distances and stuff like that, which
I don't think Raymond's role changes at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think his role changes one bit.
Right. I was just answering the question. Like for me, it would be Tillman for that reason. I think Tillman plays on almost every down, and I think Khalif Raymond is still a guy that's coming in specific spots.
I like Akine. I mean, they could be down in garbage time, and the guy's shown that like he's capable of catching the football, and Ridley kind of is just non-existent.
Yeah,
I think the Akine call nice. He has a little bit of a floor. The thing about like a Raymond is he has no floor whatsoever. He easily could catch 0 balls with the way Detroit does it. Akine is going to be in there every snap, and they're probably going to be down. I mean, I think he's got some floor, and he has some ceiling, and he's 3,000. Like I like him personally. But.
Yeah. No, it's good. I like it too. So I can definitely sell myself on some of these cheap guys. Anything to help me fit these studs, because just like I said with Amon-Ra last week, when you can just like jam a stud, just be totally confident in one stud, and you get a few value pieces around it like Tillman that helps you fit them. It just makes building so much easier. It's like I like Amon-Ra last week. I was just like, I'm playing him no matter what. Like I'm just playing him. Same. It's the best spot for him. And then, if you can find 1 or 2 value plays that just make it easy for you to jam Amon-Ra, it makes it even easier. So maybe it's Nick Westbrook-Akine. Maybe he's a sleepy, someone who people are sleeping on for value. I haven't looked at ownership, so I don't know if any of these guys are getting any ownership, but I doubt it for the most part. Not. Yeah. All right. Let's go to the next game here. Got to go to ODB's Houston Texans team here, taking on the Colts. Texans at home, 5-point favorites, coming off a tough loss to the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay, where they won the turnover battle 3-0, but CJ Stroud just could not do it. He didn't have time. He threw for 86 passing yards. I'll say it again, 86 passing yards. And they couldn't win. Even though Joe Mixon in the ground game was unbelievable, they got turnovers from Jordan Love, and they still couldn't find a way to win that game. This is a tough loss, in my opinion. But ODB, what do you think here with Houston and the Colts?
Yeah, congratulations to your Packers. Nice win. Houston got the cover, so we both ended up a little bit right on that game.
Yep.
Houston looks a little off. They really do miss Nico. I don't know though, man. I just don't believe in this. I don't believe in this Colts team at all. And I don't believe in this defense for the Colts. I think this might be a get right spot for CJ. I don't know. I don't. Nobody wants to play CJ. Nobody wants to play Tank. These guys can explode. I mean, we've been picking on the Colts defense all year long. I imagine Mixon's probably going to be pretty popular. He's been outstanding since he's been there. I could really see them making, and the Colts are really bad versus the run. So I could see Mixon being extremely popular, and he also could crush. So I'm not saying that, like, I think Mixon's a bad play, but there's plenty of scripts where CJ's had his way against this Colts defense. So I could see this being a CJ get right game. I could see this being a Tank Dell game. Just guys that nobody wants to play right now, especially in a full slate. I know the popular pick is the Colts. I'm hearing a lot of sharps like the Colts in this spot. I just don't believe in the Colts. And as much as I think the Texans aren't looking their best, I think that's just enabling us to get a better line. This is a division game. This is the closest team to threaten the Texans for winning this division. This is an all hands on deck type game for the Texans. They win this game, they basically win the division and have home field advantage for at least one playoff game. So I just have to believe in this Texans team versus a team I think is a fraud. I'm getting a good number. I know it doesn't really look good. The Texans don't really look good right now, but I just don't see where the Colts have any advantage whatsoever over the Texans. So I'm just going to lay the points and kind of just hope that we see the Texans team I expect versus the one that we've kind of seen. But the ones that when they've looked bad, it's been versus the Packers on the road. It's been versus the Vikings on the road. The offense has moved the ball okay in other points. So
best division.
I like the Texans. Yeah.
It's the best division in football. They're losing the best division in football right now. It's not like they're like the worst division. That is by far the best division in football. There's 4 teams that you can make an argument in that division are all playoff caliber teams. All 4 of them. Like it's just a fact. So I don't think it's a big deal losing to any one of those teams, especially in their home turf. Like I don't think that's a bad loss. I think it looks bad because he threw for 86 passing yards and they won the turnover battle so easily. And that looks bad. They couldn't move the ball at all. Their offensive line looked terrible. But just in general, losing to those teams like the Vikings, the Packers, those aren't bad losses in my opinion. Tony, this is a team in the Colts that we've wanted to pick on for weeks now. We have picked on for weeks in a lot of spots, kind of outside the Miami spot just because they didn't have Tua, so we couldn't really do it with that. But like everyone's down on this Houston team, and I'm down on them. I was down on them before that game. I don't like this Houston team, but against this Colts team, I can play some of these guys because the Colts are just bad. You were on mute.
You're on mute.
So it's tough scene out here in these parts, but I agree with what you guys were saying. Houston, they just haven't looked right, but this is a spot where I think it could be a good tournament spot. The 2 biggest disappointments by a mile, just looking at the flow chart, are Mahomes, obviously, who hasn't scored a touchdown in October, and CJ Stroud. I mean, they're both winning games, I guess you could say, where they've been decent. And Mahomes is obviously undefeated, but CJ's been doing okay. But it just feels like they could easily be like one win or something. They just haven't played that good. But eventually, you got to think it's going to click. And these price points make it look where you could dabble in there. I mean, Tank Dell at 6,300 just sticks off the page to me as an eruption spot. If there's ever a time to get right, it's in this game for Houston. I think Indy should be able to score too, which makes this an over spot for me. I honestly don't like Houston -5. Again, that's always the trappy number for me. I get scared of the 5s more than any number. I like the over. I'm just going to bet the over in this game. I think we see points. I never like Anthony Richardson. I actually like him against this defense a little bit. 5,800. I think he could churn up some yardage on the ground, maybe hit a deep ball to Josh Downs or Pierce. I think we see points. I think this game could be a tournament winner in DFS. I think I'm going to like it more as the weekend comes in too.
Yeah, I kind of like it too. And I think I like it even more because I feel like a lot of the people are down on these offenses right now. So it kind of makes sense to jump on it. And I do see kind of an over spot in this game. So both teams are familiar with each other too. So we saw points last time. It went over last time, right, Tony? The week 1 game? I think it was an over spot.
It was like 29-27 or something like that.
Yeah. Yep. And so I could see a similar thing.
And they went over in the playoff game. Well, it wasn't playoff, but it was week 18 or whatever.
45 is the total too. I like that. I like that call on the over. All right, let's go to the next game. We got the Packers and the Jaguars here. 49 total, 4-point spread. Packers are favored on the road in Jacksonville. Great spot for passing for Green Bay against Jacksonville, who've been kind of a pass funnel all year. So this should be a spot where I think you could go back to Jordan Love again. The problem is, who the hell do you pair Jordan Love with, or do you just pray that you hit the correct double stack? Because that's always my problem with the Packers is I'll pick 1 or 2 guys, and it'll be 2 other guys that just catch touchdowns, and I'll drive myself nuts. But I think you could play someone like Jordan Love just naked in this spot and just hope he spreads it around if you wanted to. I know it's not everyone's play. Everyone wants to correlate, make it easier on themselves. But I think Jordan Love's just in such a good spot against Jacksonville, who, gives up passing yards to everybody. And we know Green Bay wants to throw. I think Jordan Love throws it around the old yard and has a big game here. Tony, I'll throw it to you first. What do you like with Green Bay and Jacksonville?
Yeah, another interesting game where Green Bay just continues to be a good fantasy weapon just because of what you said. They got weapons, and amazing. I think they're the team that has hit the optimal the most with 2 receivers in the league. So even though it's hard to pick, when you pick correctly with these guys, counting tight end too, I think was in that number. I don't have it in front of me, but when you pick correctly, you have all the upside in the world. Granted, it's hard to pick correctly. The last couple of weeks have been a disaster where it looked like it was going to be Wick's week, and then Watson did good, and then they kind of flipped a little bit. Jaden Reed has some big performances. Tucker Kraft's actually looked like the best of all of them, or at least the most consistent. He looks like a stud tight end that on one of the shows we were high on him early in the year before he took over the number 1 spot. So I think that was a pretty good take. For whatever reason in this spot, Jacksonville just sticks out like they should be able to move the ball on Green Bay. Maybe I just have a Jacksonville problem. I always feel like I like them more than I should. I like Tank more than I should. I like Brian Thomas. Well, I should like him. But Evan Ingram's the spot of the week. If you look at the flow chart, number 1 spot of the week, Evan Ingram. And it was kind of a sneaky spot because I didn't expect to see it necessarily. But Trevor Lawrence just peppers him with targets. I think this game's another over spot for me. I know Jacksonville has the worst pass D I've ever seen. I think Jacksonville will be able to move the ball on Green Bay. So I think we see another over and another good fantasy game, honestly. And for just fantasy, I like Jacksonville a lot. I like the Evan Ingram, Brian Thomas double stack. I think it's a very good play against Green Bay in a trailing script at home. I think that's pretty sneaky, but I like the over. I actually like Jacksonville. Green Bay's another team I like more as an underdog than a favorite. I don't like Green Bay as a favorite in a lot of spots. Granted, Jacksonville sucks. They might just go in and beat them up, but I'm going to go with Jacksonville here. And some
you don't like them as a favorite because you don't actually believe that they're that good of a football team.
So I wouldn't even say that. Just some teams, like I like the Bengals as a football team. I don't like them as a favorite. I like them as an underdog. Just some teams, I like Detroit better as underdog. I like all these teams. Some teams I like better as dogs.
All right, fair enough. ODB, what do you think
one
here?
One team I like better as a favorite always is Baltimore. Like I always like Baltimore as a favorite. Like I just feel like they pound teams when they go in there. There's some, I don't know what it is. It's all in my head, but some teams I just hate as favorites.
LG disgusted when someone doesn't like his pack. No, it's not true. These guys are definitely not on the pack most weeks, so I'm used to it. That's a common. That's just a week in and week out, common theme here at this show. ODB, what about you here? Packers, Jaguars.
I mean, Big T, straight out my notebook. I mean, I think that there's a lot of points here. I think that there's going to be a lot of fantasy goodness, but I don't know. Good luck picking which one. I mean, I like Evan Ingram. I like the call there. I like Brian Thomas in general, but would it shock me if it was Christian Kirk? No. Would it surprise me if they keep giving the ball to Gabe Davis? No. I like Tank, but I don't really love him because on DraftKings, catching the ball is such a premium, and he doesn't catch the ball at all. And Doug Peterson is going to give the ball to ETN as well, even if it's not ETN. That other guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, DJ initials, but what's that guy's name?
Tank
number
Bigsby?
two? No, guy number 2 on the
Johnson.
Jags. Yeah.
Johnson before.
Yeah. D'Ernest.
D'Ernest Johnson. Anyway, if there's no ETN, he'll get the passing work role. So I don't really love Tank, but I do like Ingram, and I like Trevor too. I mean, look, the thing about Trevor is he airs it out. He throws the ball. They throw the ball in the end zone a lot. They go for it on 4th down there close, inside the 20 a lot, which is good for fantasy. The problem is he just always misses the guys just a little bit out of bounds, but there's plenty of times when, they can complete them. I lean Jacksonville in this spot. As long as they just don't get really down early, they might quit, but hell, who knows? They might also get a lot of garbage time. I like it from a fantasy perspective. I don't have a lot of plays that I really like because everybody's kind of priced in the middle, and I don't really have like a love fantasy wise. I lean Jacksonville though, and I do like the over, and I do think some components are going to be good in DFS, but I'm just not smart enough to know which ones so I'll probably just stay away from the game or just stack the game. I probably just won't throw one component in there.
I love Brian Thomas. I think he's an amazing receiver. The one thing I will say about Brian Thomas against this Packers team is I think against this Packers team, I think they're going to be really good about keeping him keeping them in front of him and just keeping someone over the top of him. And, the underneath stuff, I think, is where the Jaguars can have success, which would mean Evan Ingram, to Tony's point of Evan Ingram smash week, I think is a really good take because I think Evan Ingram gets absolutely peppered here. I think you see 8+ targets from Evan Ingram, maybe Christian Kirk too, but I just don't like paying for Christian Kirk now. He's just not the same. Brian Thomas is still the alpha there. And I think Evan Ingram steals enough underneath where I'm not going to play both Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram unless I double stack with Trevor Lawrence, and I'm not playing Trevor Lawrence. So I think for me, it's Evan Ingram. I think Tony's point, his first point about Evan Ingram is the correct one, which is Evan Ingram. I like that take. I think he's going to get peppered. I also like Tucker Kraft. So I don't know, maybe I built some 2 tight end teams because I think both those tight ends are really good plays. And in normal weeks, I don't play 2 tight ends, but I think both these guys have upside at tight end.
You like the Packers to cover? You like your Packers?
I do like the Packers to cover. Yeah, I think the Packers win this game. I think they win this game by double digits. I think they win this game by 14+. So I do like them, and I like the over. I think the over hits. I think the Packers score 30+ here. So big Jordan Love game. I like them a lot. All right, let's go to the next game on the slate here. We got Arizona and Miami here. Tua finally back. Finally for DFS. Thank you, God. We don't have to see anything else. We can see a quarterback who can actually make some passes, even though I don't love Tua. We've seen that offense without Tua, and my God, is it really rough to watch. So I'm glad from that standpoint it's back. But Miami is a 4.5-point favorite against Arizona, coming off of a tough game there against the Chargers. What are we doing with this game and this Miami team with Tua back? ODB, I'll throw it right back to you.
I mean, Miami looks a little broken. I mean, you do have to say, as important as Tua is, obviously he might be MVP as far as most valuable person to his team. This Miami team was literally the worst team in the NFL outside of maybe Carolina, maybe the Patriots, but it definitely bottom 3 team in the NFL without Tua. And now we're just expecting him to come back and it's all fixed. I think JSU and I think this whole panel was kind of a little down on Miami near the end of last year and going into this year. I think we all basically faded them for the most part, not entirely, but for the most part in best ball. I know JSU had a big fade on them. So we just expect Tua to come in after 5 weeks absence and it's just going to all fix itself. I think there's some fundamental problems that maybe the league has kind of figured out how they like to get the ball into these playmakers' hands, and maybe the defense is kind of a little prepared for it. I really wish the Cardinals were coming off of a Sunday game instead of a Monday game versus a tough defensive team like the Chargers. That concerns me a little bit. Also, the Cardinals are one of those teams that they don't really play good week to week. It's kind of like a on again, off again type team. I've been pretty good with them. Something tells me this game's really close and that they do have a shot. I think the Cardinals are underrated. I've been on them. I think we might just be overrating the fact that it's all Tua and that Miami might just be a little bit broken. Obviously, I do think he's going to get the ball in his playmakers' hands better than the stiffs they had in there. But I think the Cardinals are a pretty decent team. So I'm going to take the points here. I'm getting more than a field goal. I think this is going to be a close game. I'd probably lean towards the under, to be honest. We've seen some games that I think can shoot out, but I think this game probably is a little closer to the vest. And I'm thinking both teams stay in the low 20s, high teens, and close game. I'm going to take the 3.5 on the Cardinals.
Yeah, it's actually 4.5 on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. So if you
well,
like that, 4.5 right now for Arizona. Tony, what do you think here? We were up again, like we've said, like pretty high on Arizona coming into the season, just higher than the books and everything from that standpoint. I think they're a solid team. I think they're a team that can give any team on a given week like trouble, like give them a tough time. They've won some pretty good games too against some solid teams, and then obviously lost some tough games. So they're very up and down, somewhat inconsistent, but 4.5 point dogs. I know it's in Miami. I know they get Tua back, but I kind of like Arizona here. What do you think?
Yeah, I hate to disagree with the panel, but
I
just think Arizona got beat up last week. I don't know all the injuries, but I do see the guy leaking in chat say they got 4 guys out for the year on the D line. I just think this is a healthy spot for Miami. I'm prepared to be wrong though, because I do tend to agree with what ODB said, where I don't like Tua to begin with. He's been out. His head's got to be a little jacked up. I mean, I don't see him coming out and just crushing, but I also just don't like this spot for Arizona. And I feel like Miami finally got a little positive energy going. Tyreek even chirped, like, play me in fantasy this week. We're back, baby.
By the way, he wasn't spotted at practice, just to throw that out there. So,
well, I mean, if something like that happens and he's out, then I'm definitely on Arizona. But
they said some foot injury, foot issue. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if it was just like precautionary. No idea.
Yeah. So obviously we got to watch the news. We're doing this on Friday. If something changes by Sunday, I'm not going to like Miami without Tyreek. I'll just say that.
Right.
But if they got their guys in, I am definitely going to like Miami in this spot. I'm not going to love him for fantasy wise though. Even Tyreek said play him. I'm still just not going to love it. I feel like he's going to be really high owned too with Tua back. And I think you can almost leverage ODB's take more in fantasy than betting, where he's going to come back. He says that he's 7K. He's going to be 30+% owned. I don't know. So I'm kind of conflicting myself where they have radio. What's radio playing QB mean? What's that mean?
I don't understand that comment either.
Radio playing QB.
I was wondering if you guys understood it because I didn't. So
I don't. I mean,
putting it out there.
I get like the gist of the joke, but I don't know what radio means. Radio playing QB. What's radio?
Maybe chat will help us. Maybe chat
I mean,
will
we
help
might
us.
be
I was
just missing
hoping
the
you guys
joke.
would help me.
I don't know what radio means. I mean, it could be whatever. But I'm on Miami here. Tua's at another frequency. Maybe that could be it. Like he probably is. The dude has had spirit fingers 4 different games. I mean, you can only have spirit fingers so many times. So I don't know. I'm on Miami here. I don't love this game for Arizona's honestly one of my least favorite. Yeah. Cuba. I was thinking of Cuba and Jerry Maguire where he was down on the field. I was thinking of that.
That's what I was thinking of that.
With Cuba, but the radio movie too. Radio is Down syndrome guy from a movie. Yeah, I definitely didn't know that. I'm on Miami.
Had no idea. All right, Tony's on Miami. Me and ODB on the Arizona side. I do think if you don't like this game, you're going to be in a decent spot for DFS because it's got to get ownership, like especially Tyreek. He's got to be one of the highest owned players on the entire slate, I would say, Tony. I haven't looked at projection. Tyreek Hill.
That's 5,400 is probably going to get a lot of ownership too.
Yep, they're going to get. Yeah. Why does SaberSim still have Tua's out? He's for sure in, right?
Yeah,
he's in. It's official. He's playing. He's in. He's playing. Yep, okay. For sure. All right, that's that game. We'll keep it moving here. Next game on the docket, we got the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. 7-point favorites. The Jets are in New England. A 41 total. Like ODB said, New England probably one of the worst teams in all of football right now. They are just bad. Jets coming off of another just tough game against Pittsburgh where they first half Russell Wilson did nothing, and I still don't get how the Jets didn't have a bigger lead, and then in the second half they pissed down their legs. They win this game against the Patriots because the Patriots are one of the worst teams in football, but the Jets have just not been good, and they have all this talent. And they don't know what to do with it. I don't know. Sometimes you get talented guys, but as a collective, they just can't put it all together. Maybe that's just this Jets team. Tony, I'll throw this one to you here. What are you thinking with the Jets?
This might be my favorite game of the week. And I know ODB is going to like it too. I can't see the Jets not pounding New England. I mean, I know they've been bad. They only had like 4 days with Devontae. Granted, they've played a ton of games in the past, so I get that whole thing. But now they get a full week. They get New England. I know it's in New England too, which doesn't matter to me. The Jets have way too much talent. They even got their defensive dude back that was holding out, Reddick or whatever his name is. Everything is lined up for the Jets here to blow this team out. I think they win by alt numbers like 30 points. I think they just pound New England. If they don't, we're burying them. Next week on this show, we're burying the Jets. This is the Jets spot, and their schedule gets easy. So if you want like a decent odds bet, like bet some Jets futures because their schedule gets easy, and they just have too much talent. Maybe it doesn't work because of whatever reasons. They have too much talent, though, and I'm always going to bet on talent. I think they just absolutely pound New England.
Schedule coming up: New England, Houston, Arizona, the Colts, Seattle, Miami, Jacksonville, the Rams, Buffalo, Miami. It's just
lots of wins in there.
If they can't have a winning, if they can't win like at least 7 of those games, like they are just that's going to be a tough time. So we'll see with the Jets. ODB, what do you think here? Is it just a Jets all in, shove your chips in, they pound them spot?
Yeah, I feel like Tony got into my notebook before the show.
Sometimes I know what you're going to be on for sure. This game, I know you're going to be on.
I mean, I've been so frustrated by the Jets the last 2 weeks. I had them against the Bills. I had them against the Steelers, and both times they just quit. But those are against good teams that are hard, and they try, and they're just good coached, good physical teams. Now you have a soft ass Patriots team with a bad coach. I mean, these are the type of teams that Aaron shows up for, when he can just pound them, and then the Jets can just run. Jets fans can run around and say they're back, baby. They look at the pounding they just put on the Patriots. Probably a Breece Hall just smash spot. I got to imagine he's the highest projected player on the slate. Probably going to be the highest owned player on the slate. Yeah, I mean, Breece is going to eat. They've been using him a lot more since this new coach took over. They've kind of phased Braylon Allen out a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a Jets just roll show. And outside chance that you get some comeback on the Patriots too, because they will be down and Drake May will sling it. So, I mean, if you want to play Drake May, he runs. And if you want to play Pop Douglas, I think he's getting, he's been the major person for May. And the Jets secondary, they were supposed to be great coming in the year, but they haven't been that good. So they can be had, but this is probably the team that the Jets are the bully team. The Jets are the type of team that they get up against the weak guy in school and they push him down and they steal their lunchbox, and then they talk about how great they are. And then some other guy comes up and pushes them down and they cower in fear. I mean, this is a perfect Jets bully pick on the little guy spot. So yeah, I'm with Big T on this one. Jets ball bag week.
That was actually low key one of the more annoying things of the week was Pop Douglas and him being sick and no reporting whatsoever about it, and then him leaving the game. And same thing with Deebo Samuel. I don't think there was reporting on Deebo Samuel before, and then he was sick, and he was really sick and ended up getting pneumonia. But it was just annoying that we don't there's no like reporting at all about this. Somehow they can keep that all just quiet. Just stupid. All right, let's go to a battle of Big T and our boy K Reed. Shout out to K Reed here. Bengals and Eagles 3-point spread here. Bengals are favored at home, and it's a 48 total in this game here. Tony, are your Bengals gonna shove it up K Reed's what this week?
Oh, yeah. Perfect spot for the Bengals. I hope everyone bet the Bengals, too, when ODB, we were all kind of talking about, but ODB talked about betting it. When they went to 1-4 it had to be after they lost the tough game. And who was it? Because they lost to Washington and they lost to Kansas City. Baltimore. They had Baltimore totally beat and blew it. And we still came on here and we're like, listen, their schedule gets easier. Now's the time to bet them. And it was, because Pittsburgh started struggling. Obviously, Baltimore's kind of a wagon right now, but still, they had that team beat. The Bengals are just one of those teams that you want versus good teams. You don't want the Bengals when they play bad. You don't want the Bengals versus Tennessee. You don't want the Bengals versus the Colts. You want the Bengals versus any good team, literally any good team. You can name any team in football, and I'd be like, okay, the Bengals can play them because that's the type of team they are, and they match up great. Philly, you still don't beat through the ground game, which Cincinnati sucks at. You beat Philly through the air, and you beat Philly through guys like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins that can make plays on you all day long. And K. Reed, that's what's going to happen, baby. It's time to come get your medicine. We've owned you with Philly for years. That you get mad. Now I think you've accepted it a little bit that your team stinks. Come to town, K. Reed. It's time to meet Daddy. The Bengals get the job done for sure this week. And Jamar Chase has to be number one flowchart spot of the week. Jamar Chase or T, play one of them. One of them is going to nuke for sure. I think it'll be Jamar, but I always like Jamar.
T. Higgins did pick up a little injury.
No, don't tell me that. I just went on my rant. If T doesn't play, I can't. I mean, wow.
During practice, picked up a little quadricep injury.
You didn't tell me that before the freaking rant I just went on?
I'm sorry. I forgot about it until after.
You can't go on a rant if T's not in there.
Well, he still might be in there. They said his status is, we'll see, closer to game time.
T is a very talented guy, but he does not have a penis. Like, he is so soft. When he picks something up, now you just broke my heart. I went on the whole rant, and you just broke my heart.
That's all right, bro. We got Yoshavas, baby. We're rolling.
No.
We got
Yoshi's
Yoshavas.
just fine in that. He's just fine in that number 3 role. He doesn't need to be in that number 2 role.
All right, ODB. I like the Bengals with Tony. I think it's a Bengals spot here. ODB, I know you've liked the Eagles in the past. Which side are you on?
T has so many Deebo Samuel qualities. I mean, he just. I mean, I love T. He's so good, and the dude just finds a way to get hurt, whether in game, in practice, whatever. I mean, yeah. So obviously that's a big deal. I'm a huge Bengals supporter in general. I mean, I love our Bengals pro vibe on this telecast, but I love the Eagles this week. And look, Big T just had to leave the room. I just say that, and he's out. This is actually my favorite game of the week. I love the Eagles in this spot. I think the Eagles are a physical team, and the Bengals are not that physical. I mean, I like the Bengals when they're up against a team like Baltimore that's not physical. They're going to score with them. I think the Eagles are really, really physical, and I love the receivers. I don't really see the Bengals being able to stop them. I think there are just too many weapons on this Eagles team. I think you're getting 3 free points. Yeah, I mean, I still like the Bengals call to make the playoffs and to maybe make some noise. This is the 1 game hiccup in the middle of the run. I think the Eagles win this game, and sadly, it's one of my favorite plays of the week. So I'm heavy on the Eagles this week. From a fantasy perspective, I do like the guys. I think AJ is just a wagon. Devontae's underpriced for his role. Barkley's a stud. I mean, fuck, man, you guys talked me off Barkley last week too. One thing I did, which was kind of annoying because I loved Barkley in that revenge spot.
The Giants got pounded. The Giants were not one of my better calls.
Yeah. So I don't know. I love the Eagles this week. I like the Eagles versus soft defense, and the doesn't get much softer than the Bengals defensively. Yeah, I like the Eagles. I wish I could be on this Bengals party, and I'll be back next week, but not this week. This week I'm firmly entrenched on the Eagles. It's going to probably be my favorite play of the week is the Eagles.
I'm just showing the chatter.
The
chatter. I mean, damn you,
favorite
chat.
Comment in the history of our chat. He's standing.
See, this is how much of a man I am, though. I showed that comment. There wasn't these two who showed that comment. I showed that. I love
showing my own comment when they make
that.
That's the best part.
That is hilarious. I mean, even you got me almost crying. I'm laughing so hard. Right? I was trying not to laugh too hard, but god damn you.
That was definitely.
I swear once a show I get that shit. I swear to God. All right, we're 2-1 on this. ODB on the opposite side of me and Big T. We'll see who wins that matchup here. Let's go to Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay at home. 2.5-point dogs to Atlanta, obviously coming off a tough game where early when they had all their horses, they looked really good. They actually looked like they were the better team for that first quarter or whatever. And then Mike Evans got hurt, and then it just all went downhill from there. Just kind of shows you how important some of these guys are now. Like receiver, it's come full circle with them where they are just massive for some of these teams. And someone like Mike Evans he just attracts so much attention defensively, and he's so good.
Too on top of it.
What?
He dropped another damn touchdown on the play. He got hurt. It was right in his lap.
Oh yeah, he dropped. Okay, but he was already playing injured at that point.
Yeah, he's got to catch the ball.
Do you remember that first touchdown where he came off legit limping?
He's another guy that is in that.
Don't even fucking say he's a pussy because he plays.
I didn't say that. I just said he's always hurt. Okay. He's always always hurt. And
I was gonna-
he's always hurt, but when he's hurt, he plays, and when T's hurt, he misses
again.
4 weeks.
I wasn't fully. I'm just saying he gets hurt a lot, and
you were gonna piss me off if you put him in the T. Higgins column.
That was an easy catch.
I mean, Debo's number one. Debo's the poster child.
The only thing about Debo, though, that you guys are discrediting is when Debo gets hurt a lot of the time in game, he's literally trying to run through 5 people. T. Higgins is not trying to run through anybody. They're completely different.
Too. Give T
Debo,
some credit.
Debo gets hurt doing everything. Debo gets hurt doing everything. Debo.
Yeah, but
I swear, Debo is the toughest, weakest player in the NFL.
Well, that might be
weakest,
true.
toughest player in the NFL.
He would win that every year too. Like
that might be true because
I literally fade him in fantasy every year.
Debo at full speed, I'd get every single person would get the fuck out of the way of Debo at full speed. And I don't think you'd say that about like T. Higgins or any of these other guys.
Higgins murdered a man on the field.
Dude, Debo would run through you, Tony. He would literally run through you.
Big T just said that comment, and then I don't know if you were watching, but Big T goes, he literally murdered a guy in the field, and then he lifted his eyes up like,
yeah, and then JSU didn't even go. JSU just totally shrugged it off on me.
I did shrug that off.
If Debo didn't get hurt in the Super Bowl, I'd be a lot richer man right now.
Don't talk about these Chiefs because I'm still mad about this team that owns us every week. I'm so tired of them.
Doesn't own me every week. I was the only one that stayed true. I told you guys, you got to just stop betting against these fucking team. They got the refs. They got everything. Like you're on the wrong side. The whole team
gets hurt against them too. Like everything falls.
It just doesn't matter. Like
the Chiefs voodoo just never ends.
Unless Patrick Mahomes gets hurt or Chris Jones gets hurt, it literally doesn't matter. Like everyone else, Andy Reid's still there. Like it doesn't matter. Everything else is just it doesn't matter with the Chiefs. Any other team it would matter. The Chiefs, it doesn't matter. All right, we'll get to them in a little bit. We're almost there. But who do you guys like in this Atlanta-Tampa game here with no receivers for Tampa? They're down to their 3rd, 4th, 5th guys. Palmer, Shepard, Tony's boy McMillan, who dropped the touchdown in his hands. What are we doing with this team, ODB?
I don't know. It's hard to really have a strong take on this game. I feel like the Bucs were like -3, and now they flipped to like +2 or something. 5 points for receivers. I mean, I know these guys are really talented, but I don't know. Receivers step up all the time in games. I think Tampa kind of has like something good with these running backs. Baker's making good decisions. I don't know if he's making good decisions. That end zone pass flipped the game when they were up 10-0 or 10-7 or whatever it was. But I don't know. I mean, Cade Otton's pretty decent. These running backs, Rashid White can catch the ball out of the backfield. Irving can run in between the tackles. Tucker's been decent. I don't know, man. I feel like the Bucs at home can find a way. I don't really think Cousins outdoors. This Atlanta team's a little soft. I mean, they got worked by Seattle. I kind of lean Bucs, but I think there's a lot of question marks in this game. Definitely feel like, you can just plug in McMillan or Otton as, some salary relief. I mean, these guys got to get the ball, right? I mean, figures to be some points in this game. So I don't know. I don't really know what to do with this game, but if I am forced to choose a side, I'm probably just choosing Bucs. And I think McMillan will probably be kind of chalky, but I can see why. He's probably taken over the number 1 role. So he's pretty decent. He's got talent.
I just pulled up DK because I wanted to see if McMillan had any props out yet, and I don't see any props for McMillan yet. I see Trey Palmer and Cade Otton props, and then some of the running backs, but that's it. I don't see any McMillan, so still waiting on that. But I'm sure if you have a take on that, like you probably get some pretty good odds if you look at like alt lines for these props. Like if you have a take on who's the number 1 guy in Tampa, probably get some good odds on some of these props. One prop I did like, and I wanted to say before I let Tony talk about this game, Baker Mayfield's over on rushing. He got 40 yards against this Atlanta team on 6 carries last time they played. His 40-yard rush prop, I think, is plus 475. 25 is plus 150 or 160. His prop in general is 19.5. I like the over on that. I think with some of these receivers gone, I think you're going to see him even need to run a little bit more just in general on top of it. So I kind of like the Baker rush prop, and I like the alts too with Baker running a little bit. But that was just a quick little prop here. Tony, where do you like here with Atlanta and Tampa Bay?
Yeah, Tampa, the wheels fell off in a hurry. I was on them in that game, and man, it was one thing after another, and it just kept getting worse. And they went from a team that I honestly respected and thought they could make a run a little bit in the NFC, maybe not a title, but a solid team, to just total wheels off. I mean, you can't lose all the guys they lost and just get back up off the mat and do it like it's nothing. So, I mean, you look at this spread, I honestly don't know how it's only 2.5 towards Atlanta. I think Atlanta's a much better team than Tampa right now. I watched the last time they played. Tampa might have been a little bit better in that game, but Atlanta won at home. This is a totally different. I think Bucky Irving, I haven't seen the news today because I've been working on baseball stuff, but I'm not 100% sure he plays unless something changed. I love Atlanta in this game. I think it's a great Atlanta spot. I don't like Tampa. My favorite play ever was last week, Jalen McMillan. I loved him unowned. As much as I loved him last week, it is as much as I hate him this week is chalk. 3,700. He's going to be 30% owned. I mean, 30% owned Jalen McMillan is not something I can get on. Even Trey Palmer is going to get ownership. It's because of these projections. I mean, they're in the 3Ks. They're going to be projected like 10 points. The people are going to play them, and I just don't like it. I'll find value somewhere else. I can't do it. I would play like Cade Otton, though. I know he's going to be chalky, so I a little bit contradict myself. But I at least have seen Cade Otton have big games, be a target monster. I haven't necessarily seen that as much from these receivers. So I would rather get my chalk at a spot like Cade Otton. Although you go back to like Ingram, though, on the same slate, I'm playing Evan Ingram. His spot clicks off the page. So I like Atlanta here. I won't play as much Tampa as other people. If somehow Bucky is out, I think Rashad White's actually a really, really good play. Because even though Sean Tucker looked good, I think Rashad could get back to a pretty full-time role if Bucky was somehow out. I like Atlanta, though.
You know who I like in this game is Darnell Mooney. He's 5,600 or 5,800, and we saw what Bateman did to the secondary. Mooney I see as a similar player as Bateman, and I could see him beating this team, and he has a really good floor too. I mean, they love Cousins loves Mooney, and I think he'll be pretty low owned considering the fact that the way this slate lines up, there's so many cheap guys in the Browns guys, the Titans guys, the Bucks guys. There's a lot of cheap receivers. I think that's going to lead to not a middle build. It's going to lead people to the high end, low end type build. So I think Mooney is in a pretty nice spot.
Love that.
Yeah. I like receivers against Tampa Bay always. So I'm in on that. Play one of these guys, and I think Drake London had the big game last time. I will say
Mooney
though, to Tony's
big game last time too. This was the game that they both went for like 30 something.
Yeah, they both went to 34 and
That's
36.
the game where my feelings are still hurt from London getting hurt in the backup house, and that was the game that hurt my feelings.
Oh, right, that's what it was. One note: when Chris Godwin went out, just to add to Tony's point, Cade Otton got peppered that last time period that they had the ball when there was no Chris Godwin, and I do think he's got to be a really good play. Man, I might be playing 2 tight ends on this slate the more I look at the slate, because there's some good tight ends on this slate, I feel like, with the pricing and what it is. So
my only worry at all about Otton is now they got a week to know that those receivers are out. I feel like you should be able to scheme a little bit for a guy like Otton, but
I don't think they will, though, because he's not someone who's going to pop off for a big play. He gets there in small chunks, and I think teams like that, they just don't want to get beat with like the big play. They're fine with those short passes where he's running after a little bit. I think they're okay with that shit. They just don't want to get beat.
Don't you think Tampa just uses these running backs?
They will.
I could see Tampa really just going to a very run heavy and dump off type scheme.
I don't know the numbers, but I feel like they dump it off to their running backs more than like any team in the NFL, just from watching them. I could be totally wrong, but I feel like they're just always dumping the ball off to receivers. So I'll like White and I'll like Otten for sure in this spot here. And I don't know. It's weird. The line is 2.5. It's just it's kind of just weird. I feel like Atlanta should be favored by a little bit more.
It's just at some point you can only move a line so much for wide receivers. The line's moved 5 points. I mean, it's moved 5.5 points. Like, how much can it move for wide receivers? It's not a quarterback.
But it's still not just one receiver, though. Either.
I know.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. Anyways, it can't move that far. Like they can't make Atlanta like -5 on the road. They just can't.
Right.
The reality is, let's say both receivers were healthy. This would be Tampa Bay -3. If one of them was out, it would probably be Tampa Bay -2 to 2.5. So now the second one's out. We're going to move it another 4 points. 5 points. There's just so much movement you can do.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. Makes sense. Let's go to the next game here. Are we at the 4:00 games yet? Yes, we are. All right. Buffalo and Seattle, I think, is the next game. Yep, Buffalo and Seattle here. 3-point spread. Buffalo favored in Seattle. 46 is the total in this game here. Buffalo got their new receiver, their new weapon. They looked pretty good on offense last time out. Josh Allen looked pretty good. Amari Cooper got a touchdown. Tony, you've been picking on this Seattle defense a lot recently. Are you going to keep doing it with some Josh Allen?
The worry this week, though, we keep getting to these games, and there's like three. We just talked about a 2.5-point road favorite I liked. Now we get to another game where I kind of like a 3-point road. You start getting in the habit of taking too much of these 3-point road favorites. You're going to not be winning much money. It's tough to keep doing that consistently. But man, it's hard not to take Buffalo in this spot. Seattle just doesn't do it for me. Is DK out? What's his status? He's out, right? DK Metcalf.
He was week to week, and I don't know if they ruled him out officially. He's listed as doubtful. So,
Which, again, not to go back to just the last game, but if one receiver's out, I don't think it makes that big a difference if, like, multiple guys are out. But I do think DK Metcalf means a lot for this offense. All of a sudden, you're down to Lockett and JSN, I'm a JSN guy. I love him. He just hasn't looked that good. In the advanced numbers, he's one of the worst receivers in football. He's got no separation. I don't know if he's hurt or what's going on with him, but I just don't love how he looks. So all of a sudden with DK Metcalf out and Kenny Walker, he's going to play, I'm sure, but he's still like banged up a little bit. I just think it's Buffalo. I think it's Buffalo all day. And I think Josh Allen will make enough plays to get them to the finish line. I do think Kenny Walker's in a really good spot, though. And somehow the ownership only comes in 6%. I know JSU talked about it a lot this year. You can get Buffalo through the ground. And Seattle, surprisingly, has just crushed on the ground. I used to think it was more of a Pete Carroll thing, but they're secretly, like, really good on the ground. So I think Kenny Walker's pretty good spot. The problem with Buffalo for me all year is going to be I don't love it fantasy-wise. I can play Josh Allen. I mean, you can play like Amari Cooper, but I don't see the chemistry yet. This is more of a bet game to me than fantasy, besides Kenny Walker. I don't like these Buffalo pieces, at least price-wise. I just don't see it. None of them are of value. I mean, Tupac, 5,900, that's too high. I don't love these prices.
Yeah, the price tags on Buffalo are definitely bad. And I'm not betting Seattle without DK Metcalf. I do think they could have some success running the football, but I'm not playing JSN. The people have been burning money on JSN. I feel bad. Like the guy with the upside is DK Metcalf, but he's not there. So I don't know. They're gonna have like what Jake Bobo out there, Chenault. Like they're gonna have to play these guys some, and I think Buffalo does win this game. But Kenny Walker, my only issue with Kenny Walker is, man, he's so expensive. He's been really good.
That's why he's going to be low, though, because of that.
He's going to be low owned, though. Yeah, 100%. So he'd probably be the only Seattle play if I had to pick one. ODB, what do you think here?
Well, luckily I've picked a lot of dogs, so I'm allowed to have one road favorite, and I'm going to use that on the Buffalo Bills. I think Seattle kind of stinks. I think their defense stinks. They just, they had a good game against the Falcons, but I mean, people are going to point towards the injuries and get the guys back. I don't know. Every time I see anybody play Seattle, all I do is see them just move the ball up and down the field on this team. Buffalo's a good football team. They've played in hostile environments. Josh Allen's best quarterback in NFL, or at least top 2 or 3. I think it's just a good football team versus a very mediocre football team. So I'm just going to lay the small number. Fantasy-wise, honestly, the only guy I really like is Tyler Lockett. I like Lockett. Lockett is trusted. JSN stinks. I don't really feel like – I mean, we wanted to blame it on Waldron last year, and now he got a new receiver, offensive coordinator and Ryan Grubb, and they were going to know how to use him, and just doesn't do anything. I don't know. He just might not be that good. Tyler Lockett is a trusted guy that nobody likes to play in fantasy. He's just the old guy that we've all played a bunch of times. Most of the time we end up playing him. DK is the one that goes off. And then when we play DK, he goes off and we just kind of forget about it. But Tyler Lockett's still a very good football player. He's still a very good receiver. He knows how to get open. He knows how to stay down and not get hurt. I mean, he's the complete opposite of T. Higgins and Deebo Samuel. He catches the ball and then he just goes down and he just takes his, 3.5 points and goes on to the next play. He can catch the ball in the end zone. Geno trusts him. He's 5,600. Again, these middle receivers I like this week because people are going to play the high and the low, and he's just a good football player. And I think they could be in a trailing script and Geno can find him. So Tyler Lockett's the fantasy player I like. He might be my favorite guy. I don't know if he's low owned enough to go as like my Darius Slayton type play or whatever, but I do like him a lot this week. But I do like the Bills in this football game. I think they just can score enough. But like you said, Big T, I don't really feel enough confidence in any one fantasy player. Josh Allen can do it on the ground. He can do it through the air. So if you do want to play these these lower priced receivers, you can afford a Josh Allen type or a Jalen Hurts type on this slate. There's plenty of room to pay up at quarterback if you want to. And Josh Allen, he can do it.
All right, let's keep going here. New Orleans and the Chargers here. LA is a 7-point favorite at home and a 41 total here to the New Orleans Saints, who it looks like will be again without Derek Carr, who's listed as doubtful for this matchup. And then, we've got a few other guys that right now, but it looks like Chris Olave is going to be good and available for this week, which is good for that team. They need some help offensively, but man, the quarterback play has been the spot where they've been just getting killed, and their defense has just been getting absolutely destroyed, ran over by teams. I don't love the Chargers as big favorites. They're definitely a team I don't like as big favorites, but man, I do like their ground game in this spot. I think their ground game absolutely crushes. I know J.K. Dobbins destroyed a lot of people last time out, but this is just such a good spot for them against the Saints. I don't know how I can't. We just watched Javonte go off against them, and just the Saints have been getting ripped up on the ground. So I don't know, Big T. I like some J.K. Dobbins for fantasy. I don't really love, though, taking the Chargers as 7-point favorites here. Can you lean me one way or the other?
it was one of my favorite games last week going against New Orleans. That was Denver last week, right? Denver whooped them on and it's just the issue. Like Rattler is just not an NFL quarterback. I played him 2 weeks ago. Now he's going. The one thing the Chargers are gonna do, they're gonna play hard-nosed football, and that just doesn't work for New Orleans. It's going to be the same issue. Like the Chargers are just going to pound them up front, just literally pound them up front. I don't see how this game is not a blowout. Like I just think the Chargers win this game by 2 touchdowns. There's no way I could take New Orleans on the road against a physical football. The only thing I could take New Orleans against is like a soft team, like Carolina or something, where they can get out and throw the ball a little bit. And they're just
pick the worst team in football. Well, you're like, yeah, I can take him against the worst team.
New Orleans sucks, so it needs to be one of the worst teams in football. Yeah. So I'm on the Chargers. I'm on JK. I'm definitely on the defense. I think the defense will be pretty chalky, but I mean, I don't know how you could have a better defensive play than going against Spencer Rattler on the road in a physical football game. So I'm on, though. Josh Palmer looked pretty good last week to me. I've always been a fan of Palmer, but his price isn't that cheap. It's Chargers for me. It's Dobbins. It's Chargers D. That's where I'm at.
All right. You're selling me a little. ODB, can you put me over the top here on the Chargers?
No, I was going to jump on your side. I can't lay over a touchdown with a team that's main weapon is Will Dissly. I just can't do it.
You're living on the Wade Wilson nostalgia from earlier in the show. You're giving your Saints too much credit.
No, I mean, I honestly don't like the Saints at all. I mean, I was the one on here telling you 2 weeks ago that Spencer Rattler was not an NFL quarterback, and he's not. But on the other side of it, they are getting a lot of players back. They are getting Taysom Hill back. They did have a mini bye versus a team that played on Monday Night Football in a game that went down to the wire, that played late, and they lost. It was kind of a physical game. The Saints didn't even play that Thursday game. Like, nobody played. I don't know. I don't really know how they do it. I'm just going to assume that with an extra 4 days to prepare and getting Taysom Hill back, that they run the gadgets, that they do some dump offs to Kamara, that they run Taysom, that they run Kendry Miller. I don't know. I just feel like this game is probably just a low-scoring football game, and I don't really like laying over a touchdown in a low-scoring football game. So I'm just going to hold my nose and probably play the Saints, but I don't have a ton of confidence because, like you said, Rattler's not an NFL quarterback. I haven't checked the offensive line injuries from the Saints. I mean, did they get back any of their dudes? That's obviously a concern with the Chargers front line, but I don't know. I mean, can the Chargers put up more than 24 versus anybody? So I don't know. If the Chargers are going to score 20 points, I'm just going to take the touchdown and hold my nose and hope.
Cesar Ruiz, did he play last week? I can't remember. If not, he's in. I can't remember if he played last week. They still don't have like their centers and Ramczyk or any of those guys. They're still out.
Also, I kind of like this dude from Fresno State that they had as backup. Like he looks kind of deep. The couple garbage drives he had, I thought he looked much better than Rattler. So I mean, if Rattler,
I like that.
Yeah, why not? Why not put him in there at this point?
He looked better than Rattler to me. I mean, he's got like swagger and confidence. Like I could see him being a guy that's like a Jake Browning type or whatever.
I wouldn't be shocked if they're getting killed at halftime. I wouldn't be shocked if you saw that switch just quick and easy at halftime. You see that. We might see Taysom Hill play quarterback, though. Maybe that's how they do it, ODB. Maybe we get a little Taysom quarterback action.
I'm trying to bring me back in on the Saints.
I'm trying to bring you back because I think I'm leaning ODB. I just can't lay 7 with the Chargers. ODB's right. I just can't. In my head, I just can't do it. So maybe it will be wrong. So, all right. Let's keep it moving here. Next game on the slate, we got the Chiefs. Chiefs and Raiders, 9.5 point spread. Raiders at home, 41.5 total in this one. Patrick Mahomes hasn't scored a passing touchdown. It feels like in the year 2024, or at least if he has, I must have missed them, bathroom breaks or something like that. I did see him truck someone, though, into the end zone, which was pretty fun. But he has not done it from the fantasy side. From the win side, though, he has definitely done it with the wins because Chiefs have been, they're still undefeated. So they've been awesome there. Do they continue the streak here? And do they cover this 9.5 point spread? ODB, I'll throw it right back to you.
Yeah, I mean, sleepy. It seems like a sleepy spot for the Chiefs, but they get it done. I'll probably just either small on the Raiders or nothing at all. I don't really like this game. One thing you can say is that the Raiders have played the Chiefs great. They upset them last year at the end of the year, right? So I don't know, but it's still Gardner Minshew and no weapons versus this defense, and this defense can wreck the game and just cover on its own. I don't know. I no real take. Another bad offense laying over a touchdown. I mean, I think the Chiefs' offense stinks, so just probably just take over a touchdown here again and hold my nose. So yeah, nothing strong because I'm always the Chiefs hater, but I don't think the Chiefs offense is very good. So I'll just probably just take the points and hope Gardner Minshew doesn't give it all up himself.
All right, Tony, are you coming back in on your Chiefs, or are you just are you hanging on the sidelines with the Raiders?
I mean, this game's a game I freaking just hate seeing even on the board because it's just the Chiefs have done nothing on offense. First, the Raiders, who suck. It's on the road. And I mean, I have to take the Raiders as far as the points. I can't lay 9.5 with the Chiefs. But I mean, I agree with everything ODB said. I'm not betting this game. I'm picking it only for the show. There's no way I'm betting the Raiders. There's no way I'm betting the Chiefs. This is like as clear cut of a stay away game as I can see on the week. If I had to pick, I would pick the Raiders. Fantasy wise, Kareem Hunt owned me last week. I gave the speech. He couldn't be in the winner. He was in the winner. Now my record's 41-2. I got to get the 2 on there. He owned me though. He'll probably own me again this week, but I don't see myself playing a ton of Hunt. The Chiefs just play boring games. I mean, they just win football games. I don't want to talk anymore about this freaking game.
The Raiders, the last few weeks, man, the offenses they've played are rough. I don't know if you guys went through the schedule of their last 5 games. Carolina, Cleveland, Denver, Pittsburgh, and the Rams without their 2 top weapons.
Yeah, that's as bad as it gets.
That's about as bad as it gets. I think the Chiefs just put a pounding on this team, but I get why you guys are just dog or
they
pass.
Will, I'm sure. I'm sure they will.
They haven't played anyone, and trust me, I want to see the Raiders win too. I want to see them win here. Trust me, but I don't see this occurring. I think it's going to be a rough time for the Raiders fans again in Las Vegas, but whatever. Let's go. That's an easy, quick one here. We'll go Carolina and Denver. Tony talked about a defense that looked so good. I think it was the Chargers defense. This is the defense I was circling because I saw Denver at home versus Bryce Young and the Panthers, and I'm like, that's it. I'm just locking this fucking team. How do I not lock? And on top of it, Deontay Johnson's out for this Carolina team. So on top of that, they're already down Thielen. They lose Deontay Johnson for this game. I mean, those are their 2 best weapons. It looks like Brooks is doubtful to play, so he probably won't play in this spot. Either the running back, the rookie they drafted. So, losing weapons for Carolina, losing their number 1 quarterback, got to go back to the dude that they benched against Denver in Denver. And this defense is.
I got a question too for you guys. Why are they putting him back in this spot?
They have no choice. Andy Dalton hurt his finger, and
they don't have another guy. Put anyone in. Put friggin' someone off the street in. You're throwing him to the Wolves. You waited a month or whatever to
Wait, is that really their quarterback?
I mean, they have another guy.
No, they have another guy. I'm saying, is that really their backup quarterback?
Who is it?
It's no. Who is their backup? I don't even see
Bryce Young.
I don't even see one on the roster. No, the third guy. Like, do they have a third guy, or am I missing it?
They have to. Every team does.
ODB is the third string. Is it Jake Plummer?
Jake Plummer or Jack Plummer?
Jack Plummer, yeah.
Jake Plummer. Get Jake Plummer back.
Yo, you remember Jake Plummer?
We got Wade Wilson and Jake Plummer on this show.
Jake the Snake. Why don't they have
Jake Plummer? That's more my time, though, baby. Wade Wilson was way before my time. Jake Plummer was at least a little.
Jake Plummer's like a big mushroom guy now.
Is he?
Yeah, he's like this big mushroom guy. Get Kendall Hinton. This is like that Broncos game that had no quarterback, and I think that's what Carolina is. This is the Broncos' revenge. They get to play a team without a quarterback now.
Dude, the Broncos defense is gonna feast in this spot. Oh my god!
Broncos. Some of these teams just have the schedules where I feel like they play awful teams every week, and the Broncos are in that mix where they just play the worst teams.
Yeah, who have they played so far?
Well, the good news is they get to play in a terrible division, so that helps.
It definitely helps.
Maybe that's probably a little bit of it too.
They're gonna pound this team. Like these Denver games have just been free money. How in the world are they not winning this game by 30?
DFS Dom, haven't you seen? You can't have short guys playing quarterback. We can't all be fucking like Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. Even those guys like had their issues, but like Kyler Murray especially, like just doesn't work. Like it just doesn't work.
The best part is though, you were a week early on your Vele play because we can pivot off all that chalk with Vele this week at 3,400.
Vele's nice, man. He looks good out there.
The problem with him is going to be when they fucking get up on this team and they just stop throwing the football, which is what happened against
the first drive for us.
Dude, Saints, they ran for like 200 yards in the first half on the ground, and I was like, well, Vele's dead. Like, if they're running like that, like, and the Panthers
Javonte week again. I mean, he's probably going to be chalk, but my God.
Who cares? Yeah.
Just play Javonte. I mean, he's going to
see a lot. It's his boys coming back. The boys are back in town, JSU.
There's a lot of good running backs. Like it seems like there's some really good like running back spots.
Javonte, yeah.
J.K. Dobbins got to be in a pretty good spot with that offensive line against the Saints.
Near as good.
I'll take Javonte. You can have J.K. and let's see what happens.
Straight fantasy points?
What points per dollar? I don't even know where they are. What's Javonte 6,000? Javonte 6,000,
like 60. What is he?
69. Only 900 more.
69.
You know what? I'll just take plus 110. That's even. It's plus one.
No, they're both in good spots. I'm not fucking with it.
Javante's gonna freaking smash.
Doug Flutie 2.0. I don't know about that. I don't know if you want to see.
Let's get on with a different game. The Broncos are going to just fucking smash them.
They're going to roll.
We finally have a game with a good quarterback. We have Bo Nix. We don't have to. We can just fade Patrick Mahomes because Bo Nix.
When you guys talked up Bo Nix and then he came on that next week and he was throwing those passes like in between two receivers, and I just wanted to screenshot it and fucking send it at both of you fuckers.
Go ahead, send us the couple bad ones. Bo Nix. Over 5.5 wins. After this week, we're going to be a half a wins away.
Really bad.
JSU tilts me so hard with his Bo Nix take because he likes so many.
My Bo Nix take is correct. Stop being like he's a good quarterback. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Bo Nix is better than Patrick Mahomes right now.
Oh Jesus! All right, Denver Broncos defense to score at plus 360. I'm in. Denver Broncos defense scoring like they do fucking every week. I swear to God. They're scoring probably 2 touchdowns this week. All right, let's move off this game unless Tony wants to talk up Bo Nix more.
Oh, I can't do that argument again today.
No? You don't want to slob all over Bo Nix?
Please save me.
Save you from. All right, I'll take you from one quarterback to your second favorite quarterback, your generational Caleb Williams quarterback against my Washington team with no Jaden Daniels. It's a 3-point spread. The Bears are favored in Washington. Looks like Marcus Mariota starts here against the Bears. Tony, it's got to be a Caleb Williams spot, right?
Just another spot, too, where you get it in good with 50-1, Jaden MVP bets, all the Washington futures, and then he just gets hurt on us. It's just so freaking annoying. But, I mean, this is a clear Bears spot for me. I know it's a good offense. I just think Mariota, we've seen him in the past. I know he's a similar quarterback to Jaden. I actually think he's a good backup to Jaden just because of the style they play. And you can kind of still run all the same stuff that you would run with Jaden. Problem is he just stinks. And I think the Bears are underrated. I definitely think they're starting to gel a little bit more as we go. I'm definitely on the Bears here. And, yeah, I'm definitely on Caleb Williams. He's looked good the last couple of weeks. I think he's starting to put it together a little bit. And he's just got all his weapons back finally. The 3 receivers, DeAndre looks good. Komet has looked really good. Roshan, even in a pass down roles, look pretty good. I just think the Bears are just better in this spot. I'm high on Washington. I got all the futures. You just can't get committed to teams, and that's what I've gotten better at over the last couple of years. I don't get attached, besides the Kansas City hate. I kind of attached to that. But everything else, I'm not attached to anything. I think the Bears beat our Washington squad. I think it's pretty easy victory too, honestly. I think I think it's a bad matchup for Washington. Like, even if Jaden was in, say Jaden was in, there was no injuries, I would still like the Bears getting points. Like, what's the spread right now? 3? Spread's 3 right now. Would probably be 3 the other way. 2.5, 3 the other way. Jaden's got to be worth at least 5-6 points. I don't know what ODB might know the look ahead, but I think it was a Bears spot either way. So without Jaden, I'm gonna love the Bears here.
ODB, do you agree with Tony that, with Jaden you'd still be on the Bears, or do you like Washington here?
I mean, I like this Bears team a lot. I think it's a bad matchup for Washington. I think this Bears offense off of a bye versus a very soft Washington defense really matches up well. I think you can play any pieces of this Bears team. DeAndre Swift looked really, really good before the bye. Washington can't stop the run. Swift is catching the balls out of the backfield. I think, DJ's still the number one. Rome had, rookies tend to do really well coming off of a bye. I think he'll be more integrated into the offense. I could see Caleb double stacks. I can see Caleb and single stack. I can see DeAndre. I love Swift. I mean, like we said, there's a lot of good running backs on this slate, but I like Swift a lot. I mean, he was one of my first guys I put in a lineup just because I really just like this spot for the Bears. I like this spot for the Bears offense. I also think if you're short money and you don't want to pay up for Denver, the Bears defense at 2,700. The Bears defense is really good. It's priced as if he's playing Jaden Daniels, but he's playing Marcus Mariota. We know he's a turnover machine. We know that this Bears defense is ball hawking. They create turnovers. They create sacks. I think the Bears defense is very logical to start at $1,000 discount. So yeah, I like the Bears, and I like any parts of the Bears from a DFS standpoint. I kind of like the Swift in the defense actually as probably my correlation play. But I'm totally fine with Caleb and receiver too, because Washington can be beat through the air as well. So yeah, that's kind of my take on this game.
Yeah. So I agree with you guys. It's a Bear spot. I disagree with you guys on the fact that if Jaden was still in, it would still be a Bear spot. I think that the Bears would really struggle with the running game with Jaden just because he gives you a completely different look than Mariota, because he actually is a threat down the field as well. And he's just a different runner than Marcus Mariota. They're not like the same. That run game has been killing like every single team in football. Their offensive line is really tough. And the Bears to beat the Bears, you need to be able to run the football effective and efficiently. And I think you need to have that like dual threat running game because their pass defense is so good. And Washington's offense, when Jaden Daniels is in, their main thing is still not predicated on the pass. It's on the run. It's that upfront offensive line, physical, dominate the line of scrimmage, control the football, move methodically down the field. The Bears would struggle with that with Jaden. I agree with you, though. Without Jaden, this is going to be a much tougher spot for Washington. It's a Bears spot. But one thing I do like, just from a props perspective, Brian Robinson's been like just quietly one of the best running backs in football. And his prop for 100 yards rushing is plus 850. I kind of like that as like a long shot alt prop, because if Washington's in this game, which it's only a 3-point spread, it's in Washington. Like if Washington hangs in this game, I think it's on the back of someone like Brian Robinson in that offensive line. I think it means that offensive line is doing work. So I kind of like that from a props perspective. If you're someone that likes Washington, if you're someone that's betting Washington, I would take a look at Brian Robinson's props, because I think that means that he probably has a big week here from like a rushing perspective. So that's my one take. That's all of the games on the main slate there. We got it done in under 2 hours too. Actually under, what was that, an hour 45? Man, we're rolling right now. I got us rolling here. Big T, final words here before we get out of here.
I don't love this slate. There's a lot of ugly games on this slate, but the thing I like about it, the games I really like, I like it more bets wise too, which has kind of been the trend for me the last stretch. I feel more confident in my bets than some of the DFS stuff, just as we've gone through it. But this week especially, some of these games are like really tough DFS wise, because if the game stays close, they're going to crush. If they don't, it's tough. I just don't love spots like that. So I don't know. I don't love this week, but I do love that we got a fun World Series starting up. Big tournament tonight. We got the MMA tomorrow with the big card. We got college football. We got so much stuff. I love weekends like this. These are my weekends. We got a bunch of stuff. So if you're not signed up, now's a good time to get signed up for sure. Basketball started amazing.
NBA,
too.
Baby.
Yep.
Hit the like button on the video. ODB, final words for you before we get out of here and I eat some grub. I got to get up off my chair for the first time in 4 hours.
Yeah, I'm with Tony. Not my favorite slate from any perspective, really, but whatever. It's NFL football, and bad NFL football is better than no NFL football. So I'd much rather watch that. I think like I said, from the tournament perspective on DK, kind of like it. There's no buys this week, and there's so many games, and there's so many different environments and scenarios that can happen. I would just say, do what Run Pure does. And what Run Pure really does is focus on trying to create narratives in your head to get off of these chalk plays. And there's so many other games that are going to be underplayed because there's so many options that there are some really good spots that you can find. So I think this has a potential to be a really good week for the RPS crew, because I can see all the other crews that just lean into play the best plays really getting caught with their pants down with some of these chalk low price receivers. So I'm excited to see what you guys do out there, and let's have another good week.
Yes, sir. Again, guys, hit the like button on the video, RPS 15 for 15% off. Come join us. NBA Up to Lock starts in about an hour. I got to go get some food. So for Big T, ODB, and myself, JSU, good luck. We'll see you for the Morning Wood, 10 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Until then, we're out.